Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Chrysler. Merry Crisis. I don't know. Anyways. For this video, I wanted to do a sort of yearly wrap-up, even though the year isn't over yet, and I will get to my reading challenge. I just need the extra 2 weeks, but I'm filming this now because I do want to put this up before the year ends. Yeah, as you can see, it's already December. You can't see it here, but it is December. You know, it's been a year that I've read, as usual, and I just wanted to talk about some of the books that I read that I didn't get to talk about in the last few videos. I wanted to talk about, you know, what I've did this year before I leave for the holidays, because I will be spending the holidays in Spain with my dearly beloved sister. I wanted to record this last moment here in my living room that has been with me in this past few videos. I'm talking as if I'm making videos for ages, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. To start, I wanted to start with some books that I didn't mention, that I couldn't mention before, but that I really enjoyed. And the first book that I'm talking about is The Adventures of Amina al-Shirafi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, but let's call her Amina. The Adventures of Amina. And this book was the first book I read in the entire year. And mind you, I was in kind of a reading slump, so I wasn't sure what I wanted to read. I wasn't sure what I was, you know, in the mood of. So I grabbed this book that was basically about... It was an adventure, and it was fantasy. It was kind of historical fantasy in a way, but it was so nice. It was so good. I don't know how I bumped up with it, but I do remember I was on my way to Zagreb with my sister. Wow, this was this year. Feels like ages, but here I added that I finished on January 4th. And it's all around Amina al-Shirafi, which is a middle-aged woman, retired middle-aged pirate. She has a daughter, she has a whole ass family, well, a daughter, but that's still a family. And she is being scouted by this rando, which I absolutely do not remember the name of, to find a very special object one last time. And I think she's kind of like threatened into it. This woman was just like, I am 50 something, maybe she was 40 something. I should be over this shit, but I will do it because of my family and livelihood or whatever. And she goes out of retirement as a pirate, mind you, a very badass one at that. She goes scout her past friends of her past the crew, but past crew, and everyone in the crew was just like, God damn it, I was getting so bored on that and having a normal job, let's do this. So they go on this one final adventure, and it's really fun. It's actually the first book of what is going to be a series. Because even though it does end on a good note, it opens up some more storylines to follow, because she, well, needless to say, there's a bit of fantasy and magicalness in it. And she meets, I mean, she has to collaborate with her ex, which is the dad of the baby, and she hates it's a him, but it's sort of a magical creature, and she hates him, and he's a bitch. I mean, he's not like bad. For me, he's a pretty funny character, but of course he's not, you know, parental kind of figure. But their dynamic is hilarious to me, and she hates this guy because this is a fucking some sort of demon, right? But they do have to collaborate to get this thing done. And there's monsters included. There's just so much, like, it's very colorful in the literal sense, like not in the everyone says bad words, but in the literal sense that it's a brand new world for me. And I was so hyped up about it. It was just really fun. I was like, this is what I mean when I want like adventure, just really transporting you to some other place, some other time, and just like I love when something is mythologically influenced, like learning mythologies from ancient cultures through books of fiction. That's my favorite. That's my second favorite genre, I think. But yeah, that's a book that I do need to know when the second book is coming out. Another book that I did enjoy quite a bit. I mean, I don't know if to call it a book. I read the manga version, and I also read the book because apparently it was a book before. It's called The Other World's Books Depend on the Bean Counter, Volume 1. And I know that it sounds crazy because that's just your average, online novel / manga translation that is crazy long for some reason. But because I read that book shortly after I read Long Live Evil, and because I was such in the mood for the isekai genre, I was looking through different lists on Goodreads, and this one I saw like quite often. I was like, well, let's give it a chance, and it was actually hilarious because I love it when regular ass people get wind up in crazy situations. It's so fun. I don't want to be the regular people getting wind up in crazy situations because I don't think I'll be able to handle it. But this particular one is about a accountant, a workaholic accountant, does not have a life other than his job, trying to save this teenage girl from being sucked up into a different world, and then he also ends up being sucked up with her, and she ends up being, the magical hero of this land. I mean, if we were in a regular cliche novel, she would be the main character, and she has these magic powers, and she was summoned here to save this land, basically, and but she's also just a teenage girl. And this guy, he was just in the same store as her. I think he was like getting groceries or something. Well, she was being pulled into a different dimension, and as a good Samaritan, he was like, wait a minute, this girl needs help, and he tries to help her. And then he ends up in this different world, which is like, it's also like a magical world, but it's a bit, more fantastical in the classic way of like Dungeons and Dragons, I guess. I mean, not Dungeons and Dragons, but like, magical creatures, made up words, made up lands, kingdoms, all that stuff, mambo jumbo. And he's like, the people of that land are just like, well, that's unfortunate. What are we gonna do with the extra guy? We didn't want him here. So they just like basically give him a place to stay, and they're like, well, I guess it's our fault, so we're just gonna give you some life support, and you can do whatever. And instead of this guy being just like early retirement, he's like, I need a job now. So he starts working at the accounting department because that's what he knows how to do. He starts to get, a hang of the system. He starts to get in on like the administrative part of this kingdom, and he sees that it's in shambles, and he's like appalled. He's like, oh my god, this shit is so useless. You're spending so much money on nothing. So he makes it his mission to fix the accounting of this whole ass kingdom that didn't want him, and also at the same time being extremely critical of like, what the fuck are you guys doing here? You just kidnapped a teenage girl, a child, and you're like putting all of these expectations and like ideas onto her. Like, she has to be a hero, she has to sacrifice herself. Not like she doesn't actually have to die for this, but like, you know, the whole training process and like magic and just taking someone away from their family for so long. And like, he's extremely critical of everything that's going on, which is, fair enough. I get it. I would too. But of course, it attracts attention of all kinds, bad and good. At first, he's also allergic to magic. He cannot come in touch with that shit. It gets him sick, we'll kill him. Because he's a regular guy. So he gets into awkward situations like that. That's how he meets his love interest. And then his love interest just makes it his mission to make this dude not die, even though this dude is just an accountant. And I don't know how he keeps getting into weird situations. But he does, because now he's meddling with like important people. And the important people are just like, why the fuck do you think you know so much about this country? And the other dude's like, I don't. I think you suck. So, I think it was a really funny read to me. It's a bit explicit sometimes. I mean, there were some moments where I was like, okay, unnecessary. I mean, that's one way to go about it, but I'm not gonna question it because I'm here for the plot. And the plot turned out to be that he did, in fact, solve a lot of financial problems for a bunch of people. This guy was such a workaholic. He decided to fix the entire economy of a kingdom, and I just think that's hilarious. It was just a surprise read. I didn't think I read the first few volumes as the manga, which is like the comic version, but then the last two, I think, or the last one was not yet available in English. It was like the translation allegedly should have come out a few days ago, but I did find the online novel English translation. So I got to read the last few parts in book form. It's just words instead of pictures. Great read. So random. Hilarious. 10 out of 10, not gonna lie. I put the 4 out of 5, but I don't have any particular book that I hated that I read this year. I usually don't have books that I hate, unfortunately, because if I hate a book, I'm not gonna finish it. I'm gonna probably DNF it and forget about it, because that's how I work. But earlier this year, I read Poppy War by R.F. Kuang as well, which is also a highly acclaimed novel of hers, but it disappointed me in the sense that like the most interesting part of the book seemed rushed to me, and I was kind of heartbroken by all the things that I could have had. I don't know how to explain it. It was certainly an interesting read still. I gave it like 3.5 stars if I remember correctly, and but I had so many mixed feelings about it. I couldn't shake off the feeling of disappointment, even though the book did everything that it said it would. But some parts of it, I just felt like we could have had it all rolling in the deep. I didn't want to like read the second book out of fear, because it was quite a hefty read. I'd say it was heavy in themes, and some of the parts that I was the most interested in felt rushed, and I was like, but why? And but they do say that the second and the third are even better and even more emotionally damaging. So I think it might be worth the while. Maybe next year, 2025. I hope you have something good in store for me. Let's talk about fan fiction, because if you don't know me, and if you do know me, but you don't know me that well, I love fan fiction. I think it's one of the greatest things that came out of the late 20th century, if we're going to be correct chronologically. One of the greatest things to exist out of participatory culture. And if you don't know what that is, Consider Henry Jenkins. Anyways, I of course I couldn't find every single fic that I read in this whole year because there are many. I don't know how many I've lost. I never stopped to count. I only kept the ones that I liked or the ones that I was going to read. I kept them open in my tabs. That's the reason that I have 98 tabs open. Of course, it's hard to compile everything when you just decided to do this 2 weeks ago. But I did manage to compile a few that I distinctly remember having read, or chronologically makes sense that I've read them this year because I didn't have this hyperfixation before this year. I managed to find 56 fanfics that I've for sure read this year, out of which I think the last 15 or so are entirely from the last 2 weeks. So imagine that. In fanfiction, I read an approximate of 16.2 books. So, if anything, I've read at least 20% more of the goal that I wanted so far. I mean, if you think of it, that's the half of the intended books that I wanted to read this year, which was 30, by the way. It's a lot. I need to reevaluate my life choices. And I probably should have published this. But alas, that's cool. We're cool. What I did want to talk about was some rereads that I did this year. A reread of the Carry On. I'm not gonna say the whole trilogy. I only reread the first book and the third book because I always skip over the second book because the second book is just pain in a bottle. It's masochistic. I can't. Unfortunately, I don't crave pain that much. So I only read the first book, which can be read as a standalone, and the last book, which is soft rainbows, pillows, everything that I need. And the thing about Carry On is that it's a comfort book for me. It really is. Because I know it by the back of my hand. I've read it a bunch of times. It's on my top 5 books ever, possibly. I have the physical copy at home, like Paraguay home. I need to reread it. It's especially a good book to read around Christmas time because some of the events of like the climax of the book kind of happens around Christmas time. Even though the book starts earlier in the beginning of the semester, which is technically September, like late August, early September, and then but like the climax of the story happens around Christmas time, a little bit after Christmas actually. There's a great maybe I should have kept it to read now, but it's such a comfort read to me because if you don't know what Carry On by Rainbow Rowell is. This Carry On is sort of a spin-off of Fangirl. As you may know from the title, it's about a fan who is a girl. And in this universe there is a series of books of like a magical boy. And I don't remember the name of the books, but it was like Simon Snow and something. In the book, Fangirl, the main character, Kath, if I remember correctly, she is such a devoted fan, and she writes a lot of fan fiction for them. She has like this huge fanfic that is Carry On. It's called Carry On, I think. Actually, in fact, after the book, Rainbow Road, I guess she decided to make it into a real book. I mean, not the character, of course, the author, but the thing is, the Carry On itself is not actually the same fan fiction that we see in Fangirl, because in Fangirl, there are a lot of we see a lot of excerpts of what she is writing, but alas, that was before Carry On existed. And then Carry On, the book about Simon Snow, came out, and it kind of follows of like the last year of what would be Simon Snow. He has already been through a lot. We are introduced again to some of his like lifelong enemies, and we are introduced again to like the world of mages in this case. It's generally such a cute take as well on like what the chosen one means to the world, like how a kid like himself, a teenager, kind of deals with all that pressure. And it's also like, I mean, in the book, like Simon Snow is basically his worst enemy in of itself. And it's also kind of a cute like criticism, because the whole trilogy is about the chosen one trying to get better, like mentally, psychologically, from all the trauma of being the alleged chosen one, which it wasn't actually technically, in fact. But long story. It's just one of those things that I go back to each year, apparently, very often, as well as my other favorite books. But another reread that I wanted to mention here was T.J. Klune Wolfsong, because I'm just going to talk about all the books that I didn't get to talk to in other videos, I guess. But I reread this book because of a fanfic. Ha ha ha. So look at that. It wasn't even a fanfic about the characters of the books. It was a fanfic of another book that used the concept of this book. So I was like, oh shit, I remember that book being so good. I want to go read it. So I went to read it, and I was surprised, because I remember that I loved it so much the first time I read it, but the second time I read it, I was so annoyed, especially at the love interest. I was so annoyed. The main character, Ox, he's my sweet baby child, Jesus, everything. He's like a teddy bear that I need to squish and I need to hug at night. I just sleep with it. It's just so cute. He's just adorable. And I do not regret rereading it, of course, but I did, like, there were some things that I clearly forgot, or that I looked over the first time I was reading it, and the second time I was just like, this is so annoying. This is annoying me the fuck off. This is pissing me off. But that's just mostly like around the last part of the book. Like the first part of the book is just fine. I mean, TJ Klune always has a humor that just gets me for real. He gets me, and he always delivers. TJ Klune never fails to deliver. But alas, when I was reading it, I was like, "What? No, stop! Don't do that. Why are you doing that? Shut the fuck up." And that was mostly directed to the main love interest. And I think I do remember liking them at the first, but now I just like Ox, if that makes any sense. And the only flaw that Ox has in this entire thing is his undying love for this bitch. I hated that guy. Stupid bitch. Stupid mother. Maybe he's part of the plot, okay, whatever. I don't care. He's still annoying to me. But, it is what it is, and everything ended up well in the first place, and it was the necessary character development, I guess, for Ox to, own the fuck up and put his big boy pants on after his wife left him, basically. But, whatever. It was still worth it. I still like the book. It was a solid 4 stars. Always. I mean, every TJ Klune to me is, like, touching home, I guess. That was for the rereading and reanalyzing why I like certain books and finding out why I don't like certain things anymore. But I want to talk also about the future. What does the future have in store for me? And, well, I think I mentioned it earlier in this same video, but I'm going to spend Christmas holidays in general with my sister in Spain. So I'm leaving for that soon. But I guess I'm just gonna make this outro of the video also an intro for my next video. But I will be finishing the only book that I couldn't quite finish so far, and it's Babel by R.F. Wang. I think is that I really like the premise of this book because I love translation as a concept, as an area discipline of studies. I used to want to be a translator. I kind of still do, to be honest. And now that this book mixes translation with like magic, how the magic of words, and understanding different languages. And it also talks about, imperialism, colonization, and, England in the 1800s. Boom. The worst of the worst. So I already started, as you can see. I just need to get back on track with it. And I'm going to read it while I travel because now I have the physical book and it helps me concentrate on what I'm doing. And also it makes me look cooler on a fucking public space because now I'm holding a book and not just a tablet. But because I had this experience with Kwon, I was kind of, scared that I wouldn't like this. But, it says Book of the Year. That surely means something, right? So I think I need to pull through. I need to work. I need to lock in, as the kids say. Yeah, I think that's all that I want to talk for today. I did talk more in other takes, but I'm running out of storage, so my computer is dying as we speak. But the thing is, that's part of the job, I guess. And I get it. I also want to thank you for making it this far on the video, because this is one of my more tame videos of just me word vomiting to the camera, and hopefully you can hear shit. And hopefully I'm gonna mesh up some stuff probably after this of like fun things that happened in this year to thank God for this year. I had a good year. I can't deny it. I've been to so many places and I hang out with some people that became so important to me as well. And it's quite a shame that I will be graduating next semester, but that is the passage of time and we cannot avoid it. But thank you for watching. If you actually watched my last few videos, thank you as well. I don't see why you would, but thank you. And I hope that you might stick around for the last video that I'm going to make, which is going to be a little travel log of like Spain and getting to read and getting to work on my thesis. And I hope you have a nice holidays, and thank you. I love you. Goodbye. Bye.